Today's stories all share a common theme. They all start with a seemingly harmless dare that escalates far faster than anyone expected. This video does contain some distressing content, especially the last story, which involves a young child, and so viewer discretion is advised. On the morning of May 24, 2023, 18-year-old Cameron Robbins walked into the lobby of Atlantis Paradise Hotel in Nassau, Bahamas, along with his classmates. All these kids were there to celebrate the fact that they had just graduated high school 3 days prior. And so, they were planning on taking this booze cruise. A booze cruise is a sort of ship that takes passengers out into open waters for organized parties. Now, there's unlimited alcohol and there's music, and the vessel just remains at sea for several hours. And so, these kids were planning to board this booze cruise that evening from the mainland docks at around 7 pm. And so, that evening, Cameron and his classmates were at the docks making their way over to the ship. And as they were walking across the dock, they could clearly see the ship that they were meant to board. It was this traditional wooden sailing ship with 3 sails rising above its deck. It was painted completely black with thick red stripes running across its surface. And so, one by one, all the students they started boarding the ship. After everyone was on board, the crew on the deck kinda signaled to the captain and the ship set sail. Now, the route this ship was going to take was quite simple. It was going to make its way over to Athol Islands, which was about a mile east of the Pacific Islands, and from there it would turn around and make its way back to the mainland docks, dropping the kids off by around 10 pm. As soon as the ship set sail, the party began almost immediately. The ship was so crowded that people had to wait over an hour at the bar for a single drink. But regardless of that, the mood remained festive and bright. And that was because most of these kids, including Cameron, were drinking way before they even boarded the ship. Now, some of Cameron's friends were dancing on the deck, while others were recording the whole experience. Cameron himself was standing with his friends by the ledge of the ship, lost in conversation. All of them were completely drunk at this point, and so they weren't drinking anymore. They were just talking and clicking pictures and playing drunk party games. At around 9:40 pm, as the ship had reached Athol Islands and was about to make that turn to go back to the mainland, two crew members on deck heard this loud commotion coming from the direction of one of the ledges. And so immediately both of them started running in that direction, trying to push past the crowd of kids to see what was going on. And just then, one of the kids yelled, "I can't believe he just jumped." Immediately, both these crew members kind of looked at each other, and then one of them rushed forward towards the ledge while the other ran back inside to tell the captain. And the crew member who was trying to make his way to the ledge, he finally manages to get there, and he looks down, and to his horror, he sees Cameron Robbins there in the pitch black water, kind of dog paddling his way towards the rear end of the boat. Minutes earlier, Cameron and his friends were standing by the ledge playing these party games, and one of the games happened to be Truth or Dare. And so, when it was Cameron's turn, he picked Dare. One of his friends kind of jokingly dared him to jump into the pitch black water below. And remember, keep in mind, Cameron is completely drunk. He's not thinking straight right now, and so he kind of stripped down to his boxers and he climbed up on the ledge, and then he just jumped in. The ship was anchored almost immediately, and so one of the crew members threw this buoy right next to Cameron, and all of his friends and classmates who are currently right up against that ledge are screaming at him to get the buoy, but Cameron just kept swimming away from it and towards the rear end of the boat. What happened next has been highly debated ever since. Some people believe that Cameron was so intoxicated that he just couldn't manage to find his way back or even see the buoy right in front of him in the dark. Because again, they are in the middle of the ocean and it's basically pitch black except for the faint glow of the lights from the ship. And so, one of the most common theories is that he was disoriented and he was tired and he got pulled under the surface by these strong currents. Another widely popular theory is that Cameroon was attacked by sharks because the area near Athol Islands is highly shark infested. Just 6 years prior, a woman was severely mauled by sharks while snorkeling around the same area. And so, a lot of people believe that that's why Cameroon was swimming away from that buoy, because there was a shark there. In fact, there are whole subreddits online dedicated to prove that Cameron Robbins was not attacked by one but multiple sharks. The ship stayed anchored till nearly 2 am that morning, and the Coast Guards looked for Cameron everywhere. But despite a 2 day long search operation, Cameron Robbins was never found. On May 27, 2023, meaning 3 days after Cameron jumped, Cameron was declared officially lost at sea. One morning in 2010, 19-year-old Sam Bollard woke up to this tingling sensation in his legs. Now, Sam was a rugby player, and so muscle soreness and sometimes spasms wasn't new to him. But today, something felt off. Not only were his legs feeling funny, but he was also feeling really sick and weak. And so he pushed his blanket off of him and he kind of sat up in bed, stretching his arm above his head before turning to get off. But as soon as his feet touched the floor, he felt the sharp pain run up his legs like he'd stepped on a nail. And so he fell back on his bed and he called out to his mother, who came rushing in, like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" And he's like, "My legs are sore and I can't move." And so his mom is like, "You know what, just lay back and rest and I'll get your breakfast here." And again, he's an athlete, and so neither of them are worried yet. But as the days passed, Sam's mysterious illness kept growing. Now, not only were his legs hurting, but he also started having these stomach issues where he couldn't keep any food down. And so, on the third day of this mysterious illness, Sam and his mother went to a hospital. Now, Sam's father had this condition called multiple sclerosis, which is basically an autoimmune disease where your immune system attacks healthy nerves, damaging them and causing problems with movement, sensation, and coordination. And since Sam's symptoms matched so heavily with this disease, both him and his mother were worried that he might have it. And so the doctors ran all sorts of tests on Sam, and they concluded that whatever this mystery illness is, it's not MS, it's not multiple sclerosis. And so his mom kind of sighed in relief as they were transferring Sam to another room. And Sam is relieved that he doesn't have this chronic condition that might lead to disability, but he's also nervous because now they don't have any leads on what he could possibly have. And so, as he's sitting in this new room with his mother, he remembers something, and so he turns to one of these doctors and he's like, "Do you think this could be related to that?" And the doctors run this one particular test on him, and Sam tests positive for it. To understand what happened with Sam, we have to go back just a few days before Sam's initial symptoms started showing. Sam was at his friend's place celebrating his birthday and their usual red wine appreciation night, which was basically all of them sitting around the table, sipping wine and acting like adults. And so, as usual, Sam and his friends were sitting around the table in his friend's patio and they were sipping wine and talking about life. But after a while, they decided that they had had enough, and so they all started getting up to leave. Just then, one of his friends pointed at this garden slug making its way across the patio, and he's like, "Yo, Jimmy, I dare you to eat that slug." And Jimmy is the friend whose birthday it was, and he's looking at the slug, kind of disgusted, like, "Ugh, I would never." But before anyone could even react, Sam was already on his way over to that slug, and once he reached it, he crouched down, picked it up, and then he swallowed it without a second thought. Now, all his friends just kind of stood there looking at him like, "Dude, what the hell?" Until one of them burst out laughing. The others soon joined in. And so at the hospital, that's what Sam had remembered. And so he asked one of the doctors that could this be related to that garden slug I swallowed a few days ago? And the final test they ran on him, the one he tested positive to, it was to check if he had rat lungworm disease. Now, people who accidentally ingest uncooked slugs or snails usually contract this disease. But it's never this serious. Humans are not the primary host to this parasite, and so usually it doesn't even mature completely before getting excreted out. Most people have common flu like symptoms for about a week if they have any symptoms at all. But in Sam's case, this parasite had migrated to his brain, and that gave him a very rare form of meningitis. And that meningitis was causing inflammation in his brain, that in turn led to the tingling sensation in his legs. Soon after his diagnosis, Sam's organs started shutting down. And despite the doctor's best effort, Sam fell into a coma. And so, for the next 420 days, Sam remained in this coma. And when he finally did wake up, he was not the same anymore. He was quadriplegic and he needed 24-hour care. And so, for the next 8 years, Sam lived like this with his mother as his sole caregiver. Then, on November 2nd, 2018, Sam passed away due to complications with his initial sickness. In the March of 2017, 8-year-old Kiari Pope was having a sleepover with her cousins at her mom's place in Rivera Beach, Florida. Kiari was the eldest among her 4 siblings and she was the same age as her cousins. Kiari's mom, Marquiza, worked night shifts, and so she obviously didn't want her children to be alone at night, especially since they were so young. And so, what Marquiza would often do was she'd ask her sister to come stay at her place. That way, she could watch over the kids while Marquiza went out to work. And so, that evening, exactly at 6 pm, Marquiza's sister and her 2 kids, basically Kiari's cousins, were right at their door. And as soon as they walked in, Kiari immediately started pulling her cousins towards her room to go play. And Marquiza tried calling out to Kiari, but she was so distracted that she just waved to Marquiza and then she went inside. And Marquiza kinda laughed at this before kissing her remaining 3 children goodbye, turning around and walking out for work that night. Hours later, Marquiza was at work finishing a report when her phone started buzzing on the side table. She picked it up and saw the caller ID, and it was her sister. And so she answered the phone and kind of wedged her phone between her ear and her shoulder as she continued to type. And she's like, "Hey, can I call you back? I'm kinda in the middle of something." But her words were cut off when she heard her sister's frantic voice telling her to come to the hospital right this instant. And so, without any context of what has happened, Marquiza just picked up her things and she rushed out of her office to go to this hospital. Within the next hour, Marquiza was at the Jackson Memorial Hospital, and as she rushed inside, right outside the ER, she saw her sister and her nephew sitting on a bench. Her nephew was crying while her sister was kinda anxiously bouncing her leg. And just then, her sister looked up and both sisters made eye contact. And Marquiza's sister is like, "It's Kiari. She's in emergency surgery." And for a moment, Marquiza just stood there staring at her sister with wide eyes, like, "What do you mean?" And then she snapped out of it and she grabbed her sister by the collar, shaking her violently, like, "What do you mean? Why is she undergoing surgery? What happened?" And before her sister could even answer any of these questions, the door to the ER swung open and the doctors performing this emergency surgery on Kiari walked out. And they looked at the family. Marquiza was still holding her sister by the collar, and they said, "We need to perform another surgery soon." Hours earlier, Kiari and her cousins were in Kiari's room playing this new game they saw everybody playing on YouTube. The game was Truth or Dare. And so initially, all 3 of them just kept picking truth over and over and over again because neither of them wanted to do anything extreme. But after a while, they realized it just wasn't any fun like this. And so, when it was Kiari's turn again, this time she picked Dare. And so, both her cousins they kind of huddled together and they're like, "What should her dare be?" And after whispering and giggling for a while, they remembered this one person doing this one specific dare, and they decided that that's what Kiari's dare was gonna be. And so they both grinned and they turned to Kiari, they told her her dare, and Kiari, without any hesitation, she got up and she left the room. Minutes later, Kiari came back to the room, this time holding a cup with boiling water. She sat back down in the huddle and she put a straw in this cup. She gave her cousins a slight nod before bringing that straw to her mouth. The video Kiari's cousins had watched was of a man drinking boiling hot water using a straw. And so that was Kiari's dare. She had to drink this water. And as Kiari started drinking, initially she was fine. But within seconds, she dropped the glass and she started coughing violently and scratching at her throat like she wasn't able to breathe. And these two kids, they see this and they start crying and they run to their mother and they're like, something's wrong, something's wrong. And Kiari's aunt, she's confused, but she follows them to Kiari's room where she finds Kiari on the floor laying unconscious. Back at the hospital, the doctors told Marquisa that Kiari had severe internal burns not only to her mouth and her throat, but also to her lungs. Plus, she had a lot of scar tissue all around her windpipe, and that was making it really hard for her to breathe. And so, for the next couple of weeks, Kiari underwent multiple surgeries to remove the scar tissue, along with a tracheotomy where the doctors had to make a new breathing hole for her in her throat using a tube. But despite all these efforts, Kiari was in constant pain and she couldn't breathe properly, and she had also lost her ability to speak completely. On the night of July 30th, 2017, so basically 4 months after Kiari had drank that hot water, Kiari and Marquisa returned home from her cousin's birthday party when suddenly Kiari's condition worsened. And Marquisa called 911, telling them that Kiari was not able to breathe anymore. But by the time the paramedics got there, Kiari had already been unconscious for more than 15 minutes. She was rushed back to the Jackson's Memorial Hospital, and despite the doctor's best efforts, Kiari passed away due to complications with her injury. So that's gonna do it for today. If you guys would like to support my channel, make sure to drop a like. I also upload once every week, so if that interests you, make sure to drop a subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly uploads. Until next time.